welcome to The Good News. I'm Doc.
And I'm TJ.
And we are The Good News. We are so glad and delighted that you decided to tune in to our latest edition of The Good News. Feel free to follow us on Twitter at The Good News YT and Google Plus at The Good News YT. Now for The Good News. You know, I was reading just the other day that our economy job situation is beginning to look better. I read that our unemployment rate is going down and more people are going to work now, and it looks like any time now our economy might be back to where it used to be when we were thriving in America.
This is the first time that the unemployment rate has been under 8% in several years, since 2009.
I'm glad to hear that. That's good news.
It is.
You know, what it made me think about was jobs. And I thought about the jobs that most of us presently have, but what it really made me think about was our first job. How many people really remember their very first job? What was your first job, TJ? Do you remember and what it was like?
My first job was at McDonald's. And I guess that's why I'm such a fan of McDonald's now. I grew up only eating fast food from Burger King. And so the first time I got a McDonald's hamburger that was fried and not grilled, and I never knew what that kind of burnt taste was, which I love now.
Yeah.
But it was McDonald's, and I loved my job.
You know, I had to think a little hard about my first job. I'll go back to the first job that I really remember, and there were a lot of them, but the first job I really remember was I was a newspaper boy.
Wow.
I was probably about 10, maybe between 9, 10, or 11. But what happened was there was a guy who had a newspaper route, and I guess I didn't understand the principle back then, but he hired labor from us. So what he did, he got us to deliver the papers for him a lot cheaper, and he would get all the money, and he'd pay us peanuts, pennies.
So you were a subcontractor.
I was a subcontractor, a 1099 employee at the age of 9 or 10. He was a smart guy, and what was interesting was back then, we used to throw the newspaper and we would collect, like once a week we would go by and knock on the doors and ask for the money. But I remember there was this one customer in particular, and we just thought he was the nicest guy. We would go by his house, and every time we throw a paper, he would give us like a nickel or a dime or a quarter. And back then, that wasn't a very long way. And we'd go up and spend it and have a good time and everything.
I'm trying to think, was the paper even worth 5 cents? How much was it?
I'm not sure how big the paper was back then. But he would give us like 5 cents, a dime, a quarter.
Wow.
And, you know, we enjoyed that. You know, we would think that was tip money. So when we would go to collect, he said, well, I gave you 15 cents on this day, and I gave you a dime on this day. And it just changed my whole demeanor of collecting. And I knew then, I didn't know if I wanted a position ever in collecting again, because people weren't the same when you were giving them a service and when it was time to give. And I didn't learn from that, because after that, I decided I want to start cutting people grass. And we would go off and cut grass, and you know, you don't know how to set prices at that age for the most part. But I would go off and cut grass and work hard and sweat and everything. And there was this one neighbor in particular, stayed across the street from her, and I can call her name now. She was Miss Knox. Miss Knox probably been deceased, I know, about 30 or 40 years now. But we would cut her grass and go over there and work hard. And she would come out with a slice of pound cake and a glass of milk. A slice of pound cake and a glass of milk. After working a couple hours cutting grass, raking the yard, leaving it, to putting leaves in the bag and everything.
So she already knew what it takes most women a long time to figure out, that the key to your heart and your head is through your stomach.
I learned a valuable lesson then. I didn't start the lawnmower until I knew exactly how much money I was getting.
You know, thinking about the lawn service business, because it is not an easy business.
It's not.
I think about the business that our youth pastor had when he was here at seminary in Atlanta, and invited some of the youth from the church to help him out. And so he's a very hard worker, very meticulous, especially when his name is going to be on something. So he had these 3 young gentlemen working with him, and just the exasperation in the story that he came back to tell us, that he comes around the corner and catches one of them lying on the ground resting instead of working. So I think we have a different idea of work ethic now. I think that the mantra of working smart and not hard has been taken to heart, and that's great. But you I think our children don't know that you have to start somewhere. I hear our kids talking about being the CEO of something with their high school diplomas now. So it's really interesting, the concept they have about work and pay and all of those things and how they actually relate to each other.
You know, I thought what was interesting about our youth pastor's story in that the three young guys he had working with him were all high school athletes. Two of them were football players and the other one was a basketball player.
You know, Doc, work is really just so essential to who we think we are and how we feel about ourselves. I think almost as people introduce themselves, the next question after "what's your name" is "what do you do?" Yeah. And I think it's really important for us to take those experiences and share them throughout the way that we live the rest of our life. I think about things that we learned in undergraduate, with both of us being business majors, that we apply to our jobs and we apply to the church and even how we run the household and our family.
You know, when you think about people and what they do, a lot of people really get caught up into what they do for a living to define who they are.
Yeah.
And I remember a Seinfeld episode one time. There was a guy that Elaine was dating, and she dated this music conductor, and he wouldn't respond to no one unless they called him Maestro. And he was a community center. He was a community center. Maestro. He wasn't like the Maestro for the Boston Symphony Pop. A lot of people just take our job and it lets them identify who they are. And you're more than your job. You're more than your career. You are uniquely made. And I just think, when I think about some of the people who I've worked with over the years, there are some characters that I have worked with over the years that they probably don't even know I remember their name, but I remember some events from them, some names, and it just makes me excited on the inside. And for those who have the opportunity to presently work with me, 10, 15, 20 years from now, I'm going to have some stories about you, and I'm pretty sure you might have some stories about me also.
Well, I'm really glad we brought the employment topic to light, and I'm really grateful too that our unemployment rate is getting back to normal. That means that there are more people able to provide for their families and more people feeling a part of society. I think it helps you feel productive when you have somewhere to get up and go.
You know, and I really like, especially like young teens when they get their first job, you know, the excitement on their face going to work. They would get up and go to work on time and do everything that supervisor would ask them to do, but they won't do nothing at home. And when they get their first check and they realize taxes come out of it, FICA and all these other deductions, and then the parents, we had to get a piece of it because now they get their own bills, and you know, it's a learning lesson.
But yes, and it's a great experience.
And you know, today is the day I talk about my pick six.
All right, and I like that.
My pick six.
Is that going to be our?
I think that's going to be it. I like it's the pick six.
Okay,
and
so when it's not NFL football season, you're going to pick 6 new songs or 6 new
I'll
movies?
pick 6 songs. I'll pick movie reviews. I'll pick books.
A Renaissance man.
So whatever it is, I will pick 6 of them because I like the name Pick 6.
Okay.
And, you know, I thought about last week, I didn't have a successful week, and I guess that was coming off the week that I was undefeated the previous week. So last week I lost 3 games out of 6, so I was 500.
Okay.
This week, hopefully I'll do better. And this week on my picks, I'm picking the 49ers over the Jaguars, the Dolphins in a surprise over the New England Patriots, the Cincinnati Bengals over the New York Jets, the Cleveland Browns in a surprise over the Washington Redskins, the Green Bay Packers over the Minnesota Vikings, and finally, your hometown, the Seattle Seahawks over the St. Louis Rams.
All right, home team. Okay, YouTube, you have to help me pick a name for my segment that airs on our Sunday videos that we film on Sunday. Most of you probably see them on Monday, but we're still waiting on comments. I saw one comment for names, so hopefully those of you who have the opportunity to watch this video will chime in and help me name my encouragement segment.
I'm looking forward to
that airs films on Sundays.
I'm looking forward to that, and I think what's getting ready to happen, Good News is expanding, and there are good news in all walks of life. You just have to look for it.
That's it. Well, I want to thank each of you for joining us today. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for subscribing. We are encouraged by your support. We want to encourage you to continue to follow us on Twitter at The Good News YT and on G+ at The Good News YT. We want to invite you to share the good news with your friends. Post this on your Facebook page so others can see the episodes that we produce just for you to share the good news.
So until the next time,
Good day and good night.